If I don't do nothing else, I'm gonna talk that law. Let's talk about it. Trump. Trump. Hold on. Let me make sure that let me get my mic set up. Let me see if this is gonna be a little. Okay, I think I got my mic. Test. There we go. Mike. So let's talk about Trump. And I ain't gonna be before you long. But I have to get on here and say something. This is a historic trial. A former president of the United States and maybe a future president of the United States is now on trial, a criminal trial. So it ain't like you can write a check and make this go away. This is actually a trial that's going to be more than about money. It can actually cost you your freedom. So a lot is on the line. So I'm sure Trump is lawyered up. If y'all see in my thumbnail, he got his lawyers, the prosecutors, they got their lawyers, and they ready to go to war. Now, for those who may not know me, I am a Texas trial attorney going on year 5. This is what I do. This is what I do day in and day out. This is what I did all day today in multiple counties. So this trial is going to be something else. The state of New York, not necessarily the state, but it's a county in New York that's pursuing charges against the former president. So a county is just like your local county. If you get in trouble right now, it's not going to be the governor that's filing charges on you, or the attorney general of your home state, or the the feds. Normally a local DA will be the one to bring charges against you, and this is the case here. So it's unprecedented to have a local DA filing charges against a former president, trying to make a name for itself, like Fonnie. Shout out to Fonnie. I gotta say this one time. And they said they want a husband. Oh man, and they said they want a husband. Let's look at the indictment. What are they saying Trump did? What they accusing him of? They've been accusing this man of so much throughout the years. I don't even know what's what. So we're gonna go through and read the indictment. Let's read what they say on the paperwork. Let's see if we can pull it up. And computer don't start, because last time computer wanted to show out. He didn't want to play nothing. Do it again. I'm gonna get another computer. Just playing computer. Don't shut off on me. Don't shut off on me. Let's see what we can go to. DA, where you at? The DA made his own little article. Let's see if we can find that article. DA Alvin. Alvin, you better not be lying. I'm finna see right now. I'm gonna read it. And I'm gonna read you too if this document, this paperwork ain't right. All right, let's see. District Attorney Bragg announces 34 count felony indictment of former President Donald J. Trump. And this indictment came out last year. It takes a while for a case to go to trial. Sometimes clients will hire me and they'll say, when is my court date? Is the case going to get dismissed? So I'm going to go to trial. Calm down. The justice system does not move that fast. You have cases that's way older than yours, that's way in front of yours and way ahead of yours. So those cases got to get resolved first. So sometimes it may take a year or two, and sometimes even longer. And so it all depends. So this case was filed in April of 2023, and obviously we're in April right now of 2024. So that's about the standard time from my understanding, Trump was trying to push it back as far as he could. But the judge said, we finna have this trial and we're going to have it before the election. Now, what's the significance of that? Trump wanted it after the election. After the election, he's president. When you're president, you got power. And, the case just go away. It'll be hard to put a president in jail because how they're going to run the country, from a jail cell. So I'm sure if he is convicted, it's going to be on appeal on top of appeal. And more than likely, Supreme Court is going to say separation of powers. Y'all cannot have him in jail while he's running the country. I mean, obviously, that's not going to work for the American people. We need him out and about. We need him going up and down, traveling on a plane. We need to have a leader that's showing some authority, not locked in the cell. Because if you locked in the cell, other countries might think they can walk on top of us, and we can have that. We the USA. We need them out. So that's a separate issue. But according to this document here, this is what the local district attorney in New York is saying. Alvin, he's saying that he announced the indictment of Donald J. Trump, 76, for falsifying New York business records in order to conceal damaging information and unlawful activity from American voters before and after the 2016 election. Let's stop right there. So, for those who don't know, Trump is accused of paying a quote-unquote porn star to keep her quiet. They call it hush money. Like, we had a fling back in the day, but now I'm running for president. So Trump is saying, I don't want you to tell nobody. Ain't nobody business what we did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay you. So a newspaper come or somebody come talk to you, decline to come and tell them, I don't want to talk. As a matter of fact, in order to make that happen, a newspaper company actually bought the story from the quote unquote porn star. The newspaper company said, you know what, I'm going to buy that story from her and now I'm going to own it. And what the newspaper company did, they said, now that I own it, I'm going to tear it up. I own the rights to it. So that's what they mean when they say catch and kill. If there's a bad story about Trump, they wanted to catch it, pay for it. Now they own it. And now you kill it. You tear it up. And no other company can have the rights to that because the company that owned it destroyed it. So that's what they mean by catch and kill. But the question for the jury in this sentence here, that Trump, he falsified business records in order to conceal damaging information and unlawful activity. What's damaging information? Was he married at the time that he supposedly messed with this porn star? And I think they're saying that his wife was pregnant at the time. And the Republican Party is supposedly a party of value, so they don't believe in all of that cheating and carrying on. So that's what some of the parties say, but obviously that's not true. They doing a little tipping and dipping too. Come on. They doing a little bit of it. Democrats, they doing a little bit of it too. Independents, they doing it too. So let's keep it real. But legally, see, we're looking at the law. We're looking at the rule of law. What unlawful activity? That's what I want to know, Alvin. But we'll keep going. During the election, Trump and others employed a catch and kill, what I just explained, scheme to identify, purchase, and bury negative information about him and boost his electoral prospects. Trump then went to great lengths to hide his conduct, causing dozens of false entries in business records to conceal criminal activity, including attempts to violate state and federal election laws. Let's stop right there. And I'm going to break this down a little bit more later. But just reading this, when Trump allegedly was paying this woman, he wasn't paying her to violate no state and federal election law or campaign law. This ain't had nothing to do with election and campaign law. He just wanted to make sure that that story went away before he ran for president. Just so, you know, when you run for president, people are going to bring up the dirt. They're going to, you know, try to drag your name so you don't win. So basically, he's just trying to get the story under wraps before it comes out. That's if it even happened. I think in some articles, Trump is saying he ain't messed with that girl. And he said he ain't paid her neither. Now, if somebody lying, we're going to get to the bottom of it tonight. That's what we're going to do. Trump is charged in a New York State Supreme Court, and a state Supreme Court in New York is just a regular court. It's not like the Supreme Court of the United States or the highest court of the state. Like in Texas, you have a Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is like the highest court of the state. But Texas, and I believe a few other states, actually have two Supreme Courts. We have a Supreme Court for civil cases, and we also have a Supreme Court, Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, for criminal cases. So they basically are equal courts, but instead of clogging one court down, because Texas has like so many people, millions of people, we just separate our two Supreme Courts. But our Supreme Courts are usually the highest courts, and some people call them the courts of last resort. That means once that court makes a ruling, then that's it. It's done. But in New York, they kind of have theirs backwards. They call the regular courts, you know, the first court, the trial court, their Supreme Court. But they charged them with 34 counts. It said the people of the state of New York alleged that Donald J. Trump repeatedly and fraudulently falsified New York business records to conceal crimes that hid damaging information from the voting public during the 2016 presidential election. Manhattan is home to the country's most significant business market. We cannot allow New York businesses to manipulate their records to cover up criminal conduct. Okay. Yeah. We're going to see you prove that one. As the statement of facts describes, the trail of money and lies exposes a pattern that the people allege violates one of New York's basic and fundamental business laws. As this office has done time and time again, we today uphold our solemn responsibility to ensure that everyone stands equal before the law. Boy, you doing this to get famous. Stop it. According to court documents and statements made on the record in court, from August 2015 to December 2017, Trump orchestrated his catch and kill scheme through a series of payments that he then concealed through months of false business entries. First of all, is Trump really keeping his books? Let's be for real. Is he really the one that's keeping his books, or does he have staff, people that he hired, attorneys that's making and creating his books for him? His attorneys probably told him this was legal. So that's going to be an issue that the prosecutors are going to have to prove in court. Let's see. In one instance, American media paid $30,000 to a former Trump doorman who claimed to have a story about a child Trump had out of wedlock. So I guess this is the first story. Supposedly this door guy, you know, the door guys, they know everything. They see who go and who come, who's sneaking, who creeping, who up in the middle of the night, what room, what hotel you going to. So what the American media company did, they said, hey, doorman, you better take this $30,000 and go on somewhere. Trump finna run for president, and we know that you know that little boy his, or that little girl his. But we don't want you to tell nobody. So get this $30,000 and go buy you a little car or something and go on. Doorman said, all right, cool. So the American media company bought the rights to that story. What they do, killed it, tore it up. It was the second time the same company paid $150,000 to a woman who alleged she had a sexual relationship with Trump. When Trump explicitly directed a lawyer who then worked for the Trump organization, Trump's special counsel, to reimburse AMI in cash, the special counsel, Trump's lawyer, indicated to Trump that the payment should be made via a shell company and not by cash. So it seems to me that Trump was taking a page out of funny book. He said he wanted to pay her in cash. If he would have paid her in cash, it wouldn't be no case. He would have paid her in cash. I wouldn't be sitting right here with these bright lights in my face. If he would have paid her in cash, this case would be dead on arrival because it wouldn't be no trace. It wouldn't be no entries, no false business records. They're saying that, hey, Trump paid her and then he wrote it down as something else. That's a crime. But if he would have just gave her cash, give her cash, then guess what? It won't be no crime. But no, his lawyer said, no, don't give her cash. We're going to make a fake company and then we're going to pay her through the fake company. Like, why? Why did his lawyer tell him to do that? Why lie when the truth would do? So anyway, I mean, even the DA's own statement. This is the statement I read from the DA. The special counsel indicated to Trump that the payment should be made via a shell company and not by cash. His own lawyer told him that, hey, you can pay her. It's legal to pay her, and it's legal to do it through a company. You don't even have to. You don't have to pay her cash. It's legal. We can write her checks. We can just give her the money. So that is a good defense. One of the defenses I'm sure Trump's lawyers are going to raise is, hey, my lawyer told me I can do this. My lawyer told me it was legal for me to do this. Why am I sitting in a courtroom right now? I don't care if you don't like me. I don't care if you don't like my policies when I was president. But did I commit the crime as accused in this indictment? So AMI, the media company, ultimately declined to accept reimbursement after consulting with their counsel. AMI, which later admitted its conduct was unlawful in an agreement with federal prosecutors, made false entries in its business records concerning the true purpose of the $150,000. So apparently, the media company admitted to federal prosecutors like, hey, we knew what we were doing was wrong, but we did it anyway. So it seems as if the media company took a plea deal, an immunity deal. And immunity basically means like, hey, I'm going to testify against Trump, but y'all can't prosecute me. I'm going to tell y'all everything that happened. I'm going to tell y'all how we sat in the room and came up with this catching and kill scheme. But if I tell y'all everything that happens, I want immunity. That means y'all can never bring charges against me for anything that has to do with this. And I'm going to be your star witness in court. So it seems as if one of the star witnesses that the prosecutors are going to call in this trial is going to be someone from American Media, the American Media Group Incorporated AMI. So that is going to be, a sight to see when the media company comes in and say, hey, we were doing this and were they dealing with Trump directly? Were they dealing with his lawyers? I doubt the media company was talking directly with Trump. More than likely, they were talking to his attorney. And, his attorney is also going to be a witness against Trump. So that's going to be interesting because I believe his attorney has already been to prison for lying to Congress, lying to the police, lying to the courts under oath. So it's going to be hard for Trump's attorney to come to court and testify against Trump saying, hey, Trump did this, Trump did that. Well, first of all, didn't you tell Trump to do this? And didn't you tell Trump to do that? Not only that, aren't you a documented liar? I mean, there's really no better way to put it. I mean, if you are accused, not only accused, but you're being convicted and sent to prison for lying to Congress, lying to police, lying in court under oath, what's going to stop you from going to Trump's trial, this week, next week, and getting on the stand and doing the same thing? Are you going to get on the stand and tell the truth this time? Even though you have a history of lying? that's going to be, something interesting that the juries are going to have, the jurors are going to have to pay close attention to. Is Trump's lawyer mad at him that he had to go to prison and Trump didn't save him? I mean, at the end of the day, you are an attorney. So you shouldn't allow anyone to make you do something that's unethical and against the rules. Because as Trump, even though he's, he's not a normal client, a normal client per se, he's still a lay person when it comes to the rules that attorneys have to follow. So at the end of the day, it's the attorney's responsibility. It's the attorney's responsibility to say, Trump, I can't do that. I can't do that. And I ain't going to do it. I'm not going to jail for you. You crazy? Are you crazy? I'm not going to lose my license. Now, from my understanding, it looks as though Trump's team, maybe, I don't know if it's Trump's associates, and the media company, the AMI, they already had it. They already had an understanding. So I don't understand why the lawyer interjected himself into the situation where he's, telling Trump what to do and what not to do. And that's likely what got him, arrested and in prison, because he was advising Trump to do things that the lawyer either knew or should have known were against the law. But, you can't tell your client to do something because the client, they don't know. We're attorneys. If we tell a client, like, hey, this is legal, I've done it before, there's nothing that's going to get you in trouble, and the client says, okay, then, it's hard to go after their client when they listen to their lawyer. And I believe that's probably why the lawyer was held accountable and responsible and sent to prison when he was sent. Let's go back. So we got a third instance. 12 days before the presidential general election, the special counsel, Trump's lawyer, wired $130,000 to an attorney for an adult film actress. Okay, so we got another $130,000. So right now, the doorman probably mad as I don't know what. The doorman probably saying, y'all only gave me $30,000, and I know about a whole outside baby, but y'all paying $150,000 to one woman and then $130,000 to another woman, and y'all only gave me $30,000. If anybody should be testifying, it should be that doorman. for getting the short end of the stick. One thing about it, I wasn't worried about that camera seeing me drink some water. I need some water. Oh man. So the special counsel, Trump's lawyer, who has since pleaded guilty and served time in prison for making the illegal campaign contribution, made the payment through a shell corporation funded through a bank in Manhattan. But is that a campaign contribution? How is that a campaign contribution? It doesn't make sense. Now they're saying it's a campaign contribution because they want to elevate this charge to a felony. Normally, What Trump is accused of, it's a misdemeanor. Most people know what a misdemeanor is. It's less than a year in jail for punishment. Most of the time, first offenders get probation. So it's real light. But the DA wanted to elevate it to a felony. He didn't want to take Trump to trial on no misdemeanor charges. It would be a waste of time. And he'll likely get probation if he's not found not guilty altogether. So he wanted to elevate it. So what he's saying is, not only did Trump conceal records, falsify business records, he did it to cover up another crime, and that's campaign contributions. That man wasn't worried about no campaign contributions, and that wasn't even a legal campaign contribution. He giving money to a woman to keep her quiet. He giving money to another woman to keep her quiet. He's giving money to a doorman to don't tell nobody about little Tommy Joe running around the neighborhood. And Trump is a pappy, allegedly. Then it said after winning the election, Trump reimbursed his lawyer through a series of monthly checks. First, the Donald J. Trump Revocable Trust, created in New York to hold Trump Organization assets during his presidency, and later from Trump's bank account. In total, 11 checks were issued for a phony purpose. None of those checks were signed by Trump. Each check was processed by the Trump Organization and illegally disguised as a payment for legal services rendered pursuant to a non-existent retainer agreement. In total, 34 entries were made in New York business records to conceal the initial covert $130,000 payment. Further, participants in the scheme took steps that mischaracterized for tax purposes the true nature of the reimbursements. So this district attorney, he worse than me. He created a chart. Alvin then made a chart. Golly. Alvin, what you got on this chart? Y'all know what? Let's see if I can slide it over. Computer, don't you start. Okay, there we go. Don't you start that. Okay. So I guess this is the chart. So we're starting a little people v. Donald J. Trump, 130,000 hush money. That equals 34 counts of falsifying business records, checks, and invoices. To make it a felony, you got to have the intent to commit or conceal another crime, including state and federal election laws. And then that takes it to falsifying business records in the first degree. So what did he do? They say in August 2015, he paid $30,000 to the doorman. I know that doorman cussing. That doorman could have had an extra $100,000. Oh, come on, computer. All right, there we go. He could have had an extra 130. I'm trying to make it a little bit bigger, but my Zoom is over here tripping. Okay, there we go. He could have had an extra 130,000, but I mean an extra 100,000 at the least. But he only got 30. The doorman. That's why you don't take the first offer. Insurance companies, when I do personal injury and sue insurance companies, they gonna send over a little small check just to get the party started. They're gonna send over a little lowball offer, and they're gonna see what you say. You don't take the first offer. No, insurance company. What I'm gonna do with that? My client was hurt. She messed up. Y'all gonna have to come off some more money better than this here. But it looked like the doorman said, hey, I'm gonna get what I can get. And 30,000, who knows how much the doorman could have been making? He could have been making $10 an hour, 15, 20. He could have really needed that 30,000. So he wasn't gonna press his luck. He probably was happy to get it. Because he probably wasn't gonna say that anyway. But just to be sure, they said, you know what? We know the doorman, he see everything, so we're gonna pay him just in case. Then 130,000 went to woman number 2 through a shell company. Trump wanted to pay her in cash. Why that lawyers created all these shell companies and faking records and all of that, it beyond me. And that's why Trump is charged. 150,000 to woman number one. And then they say he told 11 lies by 11 falsified invoices. Then he told 12 lies because those invoices were wrote on general ledger entries. And then he told 11 more lies on 11 checks that falsified the recording of the hush money repayments as retainer. And retainer is basically an agreement that the lawyer has with a client. So it appears as if the first time the movie company paid the woman, got her story, and killed it. The second time, I guess the movie company got scared. So the movie company said, we ain't doing it no more. So Trump's lawyer paid the money out of his own pocket. And instead of Trump paying him back, in cash, he told Trump, you can pay me back, but pay me back like I'm your lawyer. Just say I'm doing legal services for you. So just pay me back. So Trump wrote checks to his lawyer, but he didn't write the checks to his lawyer as a reimbursement for paying the woman off. He wrote the checks to his lawyer as if his lawyer was doing legal work for him. And that's what the prosecutors are saying, that when Trump wrote those checks back to his lawyer, he didn't write the true reason of why he was writing those checks. He just said that it was for, legal services. Was it for legal services? Who knows? Because not only, he got to pay him his money back, but the lawyer did pay a woman and got her story and made the story go away. So, is that a legal service that Trump was paying him back for? That can be argued in court. So I guess since Alvin been in office, he said it ain't just Trump I'm going after. He had to put his numbers here. He said he did this 117 other times since he's been elected. So it ain't just Trump. And look, he said from 2019 to 2021, 168 counts of felony falsified business records. Examples of false business records: the Trump case, federal banking violations, embezzlement, sex crimes. And he added this at the bottom. The charges contained in the indictment are merely allegations, and the defendant is presumed innocent unless and until factual recitations are derived from documents filed in court and statements made on the record in court. Man, I don't know. I don't like it. Let me see if I can find a video of Alvin getting up the line like that. Boy, you ain't got no evidence. Stop it. Let me see if I can find a video. Hold on. Let me see. Alvin, let me see if I can see this video. Boy, you got up the line like he had some heavy charges. Ain't had nothing. Let me see. Okay, boom. Let's see. Let me see if this is gonna work. I ain't never tried to do no video before. Let me see if this is gonna work, y'all.
On 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in the first degree. Under New York State law, it is a felony to falsify business records with intent to defraud and an intent to conceal another crime. That is exactly what this case is about. 34 false statements made to cover up other crimes. These are felony crimes in New York State, no matter who you are. We cannot and will not normalize serious criminal conduct. The defendant repeatedly made false statements on New York business records.
When?
He also caused others to make false statements. The defendant claimed that he was paying Michael Cohen for legal services performed in 2017. This simply was not true. And it was a false statement that the defendant made month after month in 2017. April, May, June, and so on through the rest of the year. For 9 straight months, the defendant held documents in his hand containing this key lie.
Not in his hand.
He was paying Michael Cohen for legal services performed in 2017. And he personally signed checks for payments to Michael Cohen for each of these 9 months. In total, the grand jury found there were 34 documents with this critical false statement. Why did Donald Trump repeatedly make these false statements? The evidence will show that he did so to cover up crimes relating to the 2016 election. Donald Trump, executives at the publishing company American Media Incorporated, Mr. Cohen, and others agreed in 2015 to a catch and kill scheme. That is, a scheme to buy and suppress negative information to help Mr. Trump's chance of winning the election. As part of this scheme, Donald Trump and others made 3 payments to people who claimed to have negative information about Mr. Trump. To make these payments, they set up shell companies, and they made yet more false statements, including, for example, in AMI, American Media Incorporated's business records. One of the 3 people that they paid to keep quiet was a woman named Stormy Daniels. Less than 2 weeks before the presidential election, Michael Cohen wired $130,000 to Stormy Daniels' lawyer. That payment was to hide damaging information from the voting public.
No, it wasn't.
The participant scheme was illegal.
No, it wasn't.
The scheme violated New York election law, which makes it a crime to conspire to promote a candidacy by unlawful means. The $130,000 wire payment exceeded the federal campaign contribution cap.
It went for that.
And the false statements in AMI's books violated New York law.
He paid a woman.
That is why Mr. Trump made false statements about his payments to Mr. Cohen. He could not simply say that the payments were a reimbursement for Mr. Cohen's payments to Stormy Daniels.
Why not?
To do so, to make that true statement, would have been to admit a crime. So instead, Mr. Trump said that he was paying Mr. Cohen for fictitious legal services in 2017 to cover up actual crime committed the prior year.
How you know that?
And in order to get Michael Cohen his money back, they planned one last false statement. In order to complete the scheme, they planned to mischaracterize the repayments to Mr. Cohen as income to the New York State tax authorities. The conduct I just described and that which was charged by the grand jury is felony criminal conduct in New York State. True and accurate business records are important everywhere, to be sure. They are all the more important in Manhattan, the financial center of the world. That is why we have a history in the Manhattan DA's office of vigorously enforcing white-collar crime. My office, including the talented prosecutors you saw in arraignment earlier today, has charged hundreds of felony falsifying business records. This charge, it can be said, is the bread and butter of our white-collar work. And fraud presents itself in all different forms here in Manhattan. We've charged falsifying business records for those who violated federal bank secrecy laws. We have charged falsifying business records for those who were seeking to cover up sex crimes.
That's different.
And we have brought this charge for those who committed tax violations.
Well, we get the gist of it.
At its core, this case today is one with allegations like so many of our white collar cases. Allegations that someone lied again and again to protect their interests and evade the laws to which we are all held accountable. As this office has done time and time again, we today uphold our solemn responsibility to ensure that everyone stands equal before the law. No amount of money and no amount of power changes that enduring American principle. I'll now take questions.
So we're going to take a limited number of questions. There are no follow-up questions.
Look. You want the question limited because he ain't got no evidence. Look.
The first question will be written.
Why now? Because before the election, we want to get them.
We conducted a thorough and rigorous investigation, as we're known to do, at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. I've been doing this for 24 years and am no stranger to rigorous, complex investigations. I bring cases when they're ready. Having now conducted a rigorous, thorough investigation, the case was ready to be brought, and it was brought.
Mr. Bragg, the indictment says that there were 34 false business records.
He got the truck.
And they would not conceal another crime, but the indictment does not specifically say what those crimes were. We are assuming perhaps that they might be election related. I'm wondering if you can specify what laws were also broken.
All right. So let me say as an initial matter that the indictment doesn't specify that because the law does not so require. In my remarks, I mentioned a couple of laws, which I will highlight again now. The first is New York State election law, which makes it a crime to conspire to promote a candidacy by unlawful means.
That ain't what they did.
I further indicated a number of unlawful means, including more additional false statements, including statements that were planned to be made to tax authorities.
They were planned to be made.
Federal election law cap on contribution limits.
But why weren't there those crimes charged?
Right.
Those crimes.
Well, I'm not going to go into our deliberate process. What was brought, the charges that were brought were the ones that were brought. The evidence in the law is the basis for those decisions.
Oh, let me pause it. Hold up. Let me pause it right quick. I just want to break it down to y'all right quick. The reporter asked him, you're saying that Trump violated state campaign law and he violated federal law. So why didn't you charge him with the state campaign laws that he supposedly violated? And I'm going to answer that for you because he didn't. It even seemed like the DA slipped up and said that they intended on making false statements to state authorities about their campaign laws. Okay, did they intend on making false statements or did they make false statements? I mean, because that's the issue. I mean, when you're bringing felony charges, then we need to know that you have your ducks in a row. And let's be clear, bringing felony charges is nothing to bring. They say that, oh, we went to the grand jury and the grand jury is a room of people and it's only one lawyer in there, the prosecutors. There's no defense attorney. So the defense don't have a chance to tell their side of the story. It's just one person in there saying what they think you did. And by majority vote, you can get an indictment. And prosecutors do it all the time. They go in there and say, hey, we're not asking you to convict him. We're just saying that is enough evidence here for us to have our day in court. And the people of Manhattan deserve their day in court. That's all we're asking. If he didn't do this, his defense attorneys and him can fight it at trial. And so a majority of the time, the grand jury will agree and say, okay, yeah, there's enough here for trial. And then you have the flip side of that. You have some prosecutors that use the grand jury for cases they don't want to bring. Let's say a person was gunned down by a police officer, and the district attorney, aka prosecutor, aka state's attorney, whatever they want to call themselves, they don't really want to take the case to trial. They want the police officer to go free. They can go into that same grand jury room and say, yes, the police officer shot him, but we do believe that the officer shot him in self-defense. It did look like he had a weapon in his hand at the time, even though he didn't. So it is our recommendation that you no bill or basically do not indict this person. This officer was doing his job at the time. He feared for his life, and we do not think that charges are appropriate. If you agree with that statement, by a show of hands, let me know. And if we get the majority, then the case is it won't be indicted, and the officer can go home with his family. Next thing you know, you have the grand jury agreeing with them, and then the prosecutor come out in front of the cameras. We went in front of the grand jury, but the grand jury said it wasn't enough evidence to not prosecute. So there's nothing we can do. And then the case is gone. So, you got to know how the system works. The prosecutors hide behind grand juries all the time. And that's where you get the phrase, you can indict a ham sandwich. That's basically anybody can be indicted. A ham sandwich could be indicted. A person that don't even live in America. A person that's deceased, that's not even living. A jury can go in there with the wrong name on a paper or a made-up name, and 9 times out of 10, I'll say 9.99999 times out of 10, the grand jury will go along with the prosecutor. So, you just little small stuff you got to look out for. I was going to play some more of that video, but he was telling so much lies, I had to get him off my screen. Lying like that. Boy, why you lying like that? Alvin, boy, he put on a good show. But from my understanding, some jurors have been selected, but I'm going to go through real quick. Let me see. So stop that one. Let's look at the law. What does the law? Let's look at the law, because we can't get nothing straight. A whole lot of straightening. You can't get nothing straight if you don't start at the law. So let's start at the law. New York law. Well, these are some examples. Let's look at these examples. Well, you know what? Let's do the law first, and then I'm gonna come back to that example so it makes sense. Which one is the law? New York Penal Code. Okay, right here. Let's try this one. So, falsifying business records. So I can make it bigger. Okay. So 175.05, falsifying business records in the second degree. A person is guilty of falsifying business records in the second degree when, with intent to defraud, he makes or causes a false entry in the business records of an enterprise, or alters, erases, obliterates, deletes, removes, or destroys a true entry in the business records of an enterprise, or omits to make a true entry in the business records of an enterprise in violation of a duty to do so, which he knows to be imposed upon him by law or by the nature of his position, or prevents the making of a true entry or causes the omission thereof in the business records of an enterprise. Falsifying business records in the second degree is a Class A misdemeanor. So Let's break this down a little bit. Falsifying business record. A person is guilty of falsifying business records in the second degree when with intent to defraud. Stop right there. So before we get to number 1, number 2, number 3 or 4, you don't have to have all 4. See, when they use the word or in the law, that means either one of those will work. If they use the word and, makes or causes a false entry, and alters, that means every single one of the 4 would have to be proved by the prosecutors. So, but when you use the word or, that means you can use number 1 or number 2 or number 3 or number 4. But before we can even get to any of the numbers, they will have to prove a person is guilty of falsifying business records in the second degree with intent to defraud. When Trump allegedly paid to make these stories go away, the doorman, the 2 women, was he doing it with the intent to defraud? Or was he doing it to save his reputation? He's running for president and he doesn't want the world to know that he was cheating on his pregnant wife, especially while running, trying to be the Republican presidential candidate. So what he said was, I'm going to pay. Was he trying to defraud anybody? Like, as far as business records, you may say, okay, he tried to defraud the American people because we didn't know that he was messing with these women. But he tried to defraud records. Did he have the intent to defraud? And to me, it don't even sound like he had the intent to defraud, because he said he wanted to pay these women in cash, allegedly. That means he didn't have no intent to write no fake checks and journal entries and all of this and all of that. He just wanted to pay her in cash and be through with it. That's not illegal. He just wanted to pay her in cash. That happens all the time. The Diddy case, for example, Diddy was sued, and Diddy settled with Cassie. He gave her, probably $30 million, just to make it go away. That doesn't mean that he's guilty. That doesn't mean he's admitting anything. He just wanted to go away because it's cheaper to pay it than to fight it in court. And sometimes that's how insurance companies are with cases I handle, personal injury. They're not admitting fault when they send us a check. They're just basically saying, hey, going to court going to be expensive. We might lose, or we might win. But we think it's in our best interest, instead of paying all these lawyers, going back and forth to court, just to pay y'all and be done with y'all. And just because they do that, that don't mean that they're guilty. And this is Trump. He's just paying her, saying, hey, he's not paying her to sleep with her, because obviously that clearly already happened, allegedly. He's paying to make the story go away. I don't want you telling your story. I don't want you talking about me. I don't want you writing a book about it. I'm just paying you. Just make it go away. Just be done with it. That's all Trump is saying. I want to be done with it. So I don't think the prosecutors can even leave out of this paragraph before they can even get to makes or causes a false entry. These are going to be tough to prove, especially when he's getting advice from his lawyers to do it this way. I mean, if his lawyer's telling him to do this, can we even get here? But the prosecutors don't stop there. See, if they stopped here, it'll be falsifying business records in a second degree class A misdemeanor. They have to make it a felony. They have to make it worthwhile. Prosecutors will always try this, or I won't say always, most of the time try this. Sometimes they'll overcharge you just to get you to accept the deal. They'll charge you with a whole lot of stuff, and they may charge you with 10 crimes when you're only supposed to be charged with 2. They'll charge you with 10 and say, hey, if you plead guilty to these 2, I'll drop these other 8. Well, first of all, the other 8 shouldn't have been filed in the first place. So I'm not getting a deal by you dropping the other 8, because you shouldn't have even added on the other 8. So we're back to the 2. So I'm not going to plead guilty to the 2 so you can drop the other 8. Now, if there's a situation where they have evidence and they offer you a deal, and your lawyer tell you that's, in your best interest, that's different. Because I've seen, all the time, people would take plea deals even when they're innocent or there's not enough evidence to prove them guilty because they don't want to face the alternative. For example, somebody's on trial for murder and they're facing life in prison, and the prosecutors come and say, "Hey, we'll give you a deal for time served. You get to go home today." Yeah, you might be innocent and you want to prove your innocence, but do you want to risk spending the rest of your life in prison, or do you just plead guilty and just go home, even though in your mind and heart you know that you really didn't do it? So sometimes if the evidence is not there, you got to do what you got to do, and prosecutors will exploit that. So what they did was they boosted it. So let's go to 175.10. Falsifying business records in the first degree. A person is guilty of falsifying business records in the first degree when he commits the crime of falsifying business records in the second degree, and with his intent to defraud includes an intent to commit another crime or to aid or conceal the commission thereof. So basically what they're saying is, before you can be guilty of falsifying business records in the first degree, which at the bottom, falsifying business records in the first degree is a Class E felony. But before you can get there, they would have to prove a person is guilty of falsifying business records in the first degree when he commits the crime of falsifying business records in the second degree. So that means before they could even get here to 175.10, they have to prove everything in 175.05, which is falsifying business records in the second degree. So if they can't prove this, then they won't be able to get there. They won't be able to get there. And from what I've been reading, even if the jury can get here, it's going to be hard for them to get here, because you got to prove everything in the second degree and another element, and when his intent to defraud includes an intent to commit another crime. What other crime? The DA said in the video the other crime could be state campaign election law, federal campaign election law, but you can't prove that. He's just paying a woman. He's not trying to hide, money from a campaign. So it's just going to be a tough sell to the jury. And then on top of that, it says, and when his intent to defraud includes an intent to commit another crime. The reporter asked the question. They say, okay, if he committed another crime or attempted to commit another crime, why isn't he charged with that other crime? Why is he just charged with falsifying business records if he was committed a campaign election violation? Why not charge him with falsifying business records, and we're going to charge him with committing a crime to tamper with, the state campaign election laws? And then you can tell the DA, Alvin Bragg, he couldn't give a clear answer because it doesn't make sense. It was one attorney on here that actually listed some examples on his website, and those examples actually showed some good examples. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Okay, the offense of falsifying business records in the first degree carries potential penalties, including imprisonment, fines, and restitution. The severity of the penalties may depend on the nature and extent of the falsification, as well as the defendant's criminal history. It serves as a deterrent against fraudulent practices in business and emphasizes the importance of maintaining accurate and honest business records in compliance with the law. So these are some examples that I had read in New York that make way more sense than Trump's charge. Examples: People v. Mark Rodriguez. In this case, The defendant, Mark Rodriguez, was the manager of a rental car company. He was charged with falsifying business records in the first degree for altering rental agreements to reflect that optional insurance had been declined by customers, when in fact the insurance had been added without the customer's knowledge or consent. The prosecution argued that Rodriguez did this in order to increase the profits of the company. Rodriguez was found guilty and sentenced to a term of imprisonment of 1 to 3 years. Now, in this case, it's clearly different. Mr. Rodriguez, so basically what it appears what was happening was, I go to a car rental company to rent a car. And he add on insurance. I'll say, I got my own insurance. I don't want to buy you insurance. He's adding it on. He's changing the paperwork. He's adding it on, and you know why? It'll charge me more money. So I want to rent a car, and this is just an example, for $200, and the insurance is $50. When I leave, he's changed the paperwork, and he said, he said he wanted the insurance, even though I didn't. And it changes the paperwork from $200 to rent the car, plus another $50 for insurance. So if something happens to the rental car, and I was like, I got my own insurance on my own car. So if something happens to your rental car, my insurance on my personal car will cover it. But what he wanted more money, because you get commission. The more money that you charge people, the more you get. This is almost similar. I heard a story of a girl. She was a waitress, and if she has bad customer service, she don't get a tip. What she would do when the person left, she would write on their receipt. She would add her own tip, and she did that for the purpose of increasing her own profit. So she added a tip on the business record, on the receipt, so that money can go into her pocket. And the other crime she committed while doing that was obviously theft. She stole. Which is a good example. So not only did she falsify the business record, she did that with the intent of stealing, and she actually stole. So this is a good example leading back to the Trump case. So what they're saying is Trump, he was the waiter, and he changed the receipt so he can get more money in his pocket. And what was the crime that he did when he changed the receipt? It was theft. But the thing is, which is what the reporter asked, why wasn't Trump charged with theft? The waitress, the girl, she added her own tip. Yes, she falsified the business record, but she also stole, which is a separate crime. So why didn't you charge her with the separate crime of theft? Unless you can't prove that it was a separate crime, which elevates it to that felony. So if you can't prove it's a separate crime, more than likely, that's why the district attorney didn't charge it. He couldn't prove it. He couldn't prove it. Yeah. The same example with the girl. Let's say she changed the receipt, but she didn't do it with the intent to steal. Let's say she made it. Let's say she wrote a smiley face on it. Yes, she altered the receipt, but was she stealing? Let's say she gave a customer a discount because she messed up on the order, so she took $5 off, and she changed the receipt. Did she do it with the intent to steal? Yes, she changed the receipt. And let's say maybe she had to print up another receipt and the customer already left, but she needed a signature. She signed her name. She changed the receipt, but did she do it with the intent to steal? Or did she do it to make sure they get their discount? And she couldn't turn in a blank receipt once they left the restaurant, so she just signed her name with the discount on there. So obviously they can't charge her with the theft. Yeah, we can prove that you signed somebody else's name, you altered the receipt without permission, but we can't prove that you did it for theft. So now we can't elevate it to the felony charge. And that's the same thing with Trump. Even if they can prove, and I'm not saying that they can right now, but even if they can prove that he falsified the records, did he do it with the intent to commit another crime? And I believe that that's going to be an issue. Let's look at the second example. The People v. Jane Chen, 2020. In this case, the defendant, Jane Chen, was the CFO, chief financial officer of a large corporation. She was accused of falsifying business records in the first degree, a Class E felony in New York. The prosecution alleged that Chen altered financial records of the company to reflect false revenue numbers in order to mislead investors and shareholders about the financial health of the company and boost the stock price. She was found guilty of the charge of falsifying business records in the first degree and was sentenced to a term of imprisonment of 2 to 4 years. Chen was also ordered to pay restitution to the victims. So another situation, obviously, she wanted more money to be brought into her company, so she increased the value on paper of her company. So I'm trying to see a good example. If I have a car and my car is only worth $10,000, but on paper, I tell people it's worth more than what it is. I say, hey, this is a $50,000 car. When I know that's not true. And the plan is to induce them to think my car is worth more than what it is, so they can invest in my car, buy my car. You know, I'm hyping it. I'm hyping it up. I'm making it appear way bigger than what it is. But when you pull out the microscope, I believe it was Kylie Jenner. I think when it first came out, they were saying she was a billionaire. I think she's a billionaire now. Congrats on that. I think when it first came out, they were saying she was a billionaire when in fact she wasn't. But when they pulled out the magnifying glass and they looked, and it's like, no. You know, you're not a billionaire. They boosted the value of a company, even though the company wasn't worth as much as they said it was. And I'm not sure if it was Kylie, her team, or financial people that was doing it on her behalf. And I believe she was upset when she found out that it happened, because she's like, why do all of that? I'm gonna be a billionaire eventually. We ain't gotta cheat the system. We can just wait our turn. But this is what the lady did. She altered financial records. So if, let's say, she had $100 in the bank, she told everybody, I got 1,000 in the bank. And she probably made some fake bank statements. I got 10,000 in the bank. I got $1 million in the bank. Whole time she got $100. And companies believe in her. They say, okay, you're $1 million company. I want to give you money because I want to make money. I want to invest in your company. And once all the smoke and mirrors clear, the investors, they lose their money, and come to find out she didn't have no money in the bank. And she did this. She altered those bank records to make it seem like she has a lot of money because she wanted the other companies to invest. She wanted to get their money. She did it to steal their money. So that's what elevated to a felony. She did it with the intent to steal other people's money. Now, do y'all see how these two cases and these examples are very different from the Trump case? I mean, there's no comparison. Them two examples are totally different than the charge that Trump is currently facing. And I believe, golly, I've been going over an hour. I got to get those YouTube view hours. And one thing about these live videos, I really don't even pay attention to people watching right now. I just post it and let the algorithm do its thing. Because one thing about YouTube, you just can't come on YouTube and they're going to just start showing you to a lot of people. They want you to prove yourself, prove that you're going to be here for the long haul, prove that you deserve to be here. We're not going to blast you and show you off to a lot of different people only to for you to leave or you to quit YouTube. And then they invested in you for what? You got to show them that you're in it for the long haul. And sometimes they mean doing videos. Do as many videos as you can. And I said, I'm going to turn this camera on today. If I don't do nothing else, I'm turning it on. But let's see. So 7 jurors were selected today. This is day 2. Day 1, they tried to pick jurors, but nobody was good enough. And what I mean by that is, if somebody's leaning too heavy on Trump's side, or if they don't like Trump, they're leaning too far away from him, then you're not going to be able to be on the jury. And I'm sure these lawyers have hired professional jury consultants to investigate these people. So before trial, the lawyers get a list. Who the people are, their names, where they work, how old they are, how many kids they got. You get a list of everything. What is their race? You get a list of all the qualifications. And Trump and his team, I'm sure, turned that list over to their team. And, they probably let AI do their thing and go in. I want you to search each and every person, go in and find social media posts about these people. If they ever say one bad word about Trump, I want to know about it. Because everything depends on picking a fair jury. And come to find out, you had one member on the jury. He actually had a post on his social media that said, lock him up. Now, obviously, if you saying lock him up on your social media, you don't need to be sitting on the jury, because you're going to come in with a preconceived notion that Trump is already guilty. I mean, you already want him locked up. So why would you sit on the jury? No matter what we tell you as defense attorneys, no matter if we prove his case, you are still going to want him to be found guilty. So that's just somebody that we can't have on a jury. We got to kick you off. So when we pick juries, we are given 10 peremptory strikes. Those are what we call free strikes. People think when you go to court that we get to pick our jury as lawyers. We get to look in the crowd and say, oh, I want that person, I want that person, I want that person. It doesn't work like that. Picking a jury is a deselection process. So basically you have a room full of people, and the people you don't like on your list, you X them out. So if I say, hey, I don't like number 1, I don't like number 5, I don't like number 10, I get my 10, the other side, the prosecutors get their 10. And once all the X's are counted, who's ever left after that, the first 12 will be the members of the jury. So if I cross on number 1, they cross on number 2, I cross on number 5, they cross on number 10. Once you get through all the crosses, the first people that's not crossed off will be on your jury. So we don't really know who's going to be on the jury. We can just strike off the people that we don't want on the jury. And each side in Texas, and I believe in New York as well, gets 10. You get 10 free ones. You just can't cross them out for like race, religion, things of that nature, for obvious purpose. You don't want no prosecutor. Let's say you have an African-American client and the prosecutor on the other side is crossing off. He's using all of his free strikes to cross off all the people that look like your client. Then obviously that's an issue, and we can fight that. That's called a Batson challenge. It's a case, Batson v. Kentucky, when the prosecutor is striking off potential jurors just because they are a certain race. So anytime you see a prosecutor doing that, you look at their list and they cross out all of the African American peoples and your client African American. Okay, we got a problem. Now we're going to challenge it. But what I've been seeing, we need more people, especially in the minority, to show up so the jury can be diverse. It makes no sense that in America, there's so many different varieties of people. The jury should be mixed. You don't want, one jury from all one race sitting on the jury when your county, it has a mixed group of people. So I will encourage more people to actually show up for jury duty. We need you. I don't want you to read the newspaper and say, oh, he got 40 years in prison. They gave him too many years. Why didn't you show up for jury duty? You get your paper, you throw it in the trash, or you don't show up. And next thing you know, lawyers such as myself, we're only left with people on the jury that don't represent our clients sometimes. So we need more people. When you get your jury summons, show up. Don't just show up when it's a famous case like Trump. We need you to show up, anytime you get it, and you don't have to serve. You probably serve on a jury once in your lifetime. So if you get that letter, you definitely need to show up. And my thing is, I don't tell people to show up just so you can find a person not guilty. If they did it, they did it. I mean, you're going to go through the process to prove it. You can help determine if that person did it. I don't advocate you just send everybody home. But if they did it, you got to do it the right way. And I believe that a fair representation, because I've had multiple juries that don't have any minorities. I say minorities on the jury. And there's nothing like having a jury when you have a whole group of people that don't look like your client. You're like, oh man, you look at the jury and you're like, this is gonna be a tough one. But luckily for me, luckily for my client, I believe we had my last jury probably had one African American, and my client was African American, and we got a not guilty. And then the time before that, we didn't have any African Americans. We got a not guilty. So and it's Texas, we got a lot of different variety of people. So our jury should reflect that. But let me see real quick, because they said it's 7 people. They found 7 people to put on Trump's jury so far. They looking for 12. Actually, they need 18 because you're going to have 12 regular people, and then you're going to have 6 people on the side, alternates, just in case one of the 12 gets sick or, they fall out, they die, they don't want to do it no more, they can't be fair. I remember doing jury selection one time. This man, I was running out of free strikes, and this one man just kept looking weird. I was like, something ain't right about this dude. So finally, I just started questioning him. When jury selection, that's the lawyers talking to the potential jurors. We're going to talk to you. We're going to get a feel for you. If you're looking at us funny, or we can just tell something ain't right with you, we want to use one of our strikes. But sometimes you can strike a jury without using one of your free strikes. And that's if the jury is the juror is biased. Let's say he don't like you have a juror, he don't like people with tattoos on their face. I've seen one jury selection. One of the ladies said, "Oh, he looks guilty. He got tattoos all over his face. He looks guilty. He got to be guilty." And then I had one guy. The guy was talking about they was looking at us funny. He said, "No, if you're sitting in that chair, if you done it, and you're guilty." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "I knew someone to write about your ass. Thank you for saying that. Now you can go home." And I don't have to use one of my free strikes because I only get 10. So when I run out of my 10 and we get some suspect people that's trying to be on a jury, then I'm stuck. I can either hope that the other side cross them out, or I'm going to be stuck with them, or hope that they are alternate and we don't, have to use them. But I have been stuck with a few alternates that never made it. But the whole trial, they'll sit there and just look strange. And in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you're not on the jury. Because if you were on the jury and you looking like this, because sometimes you can read, you know how y'all can read people? You can read if they feeling what you're saying, or if they sitting there crossing their arms, they shut you out. I remember one trial, the prosecutor, after it was over, when they went to deliberate, he came to me, he said, during my closing statement, closing argument, he said, a lot of the jury was, had their horns forward and they were rolling their eyes. I said, yeah, you talked too long, first of all. Second of all, your case was already dead on arrival. You were beating a dead horse at that point, but you didn't catch it. I mean, he kept talking and talking, and the jury was ready to go. And I was smiling ear to ear, like, yeah. And you don't correct your opponent when they're making a mistake. I'm like, yeah, keep talking. And I'm looking at the jury, they looking at me. In the jury, they see everything. One thing people don't realize, the jury, you got 12 people sitting there. They can't talk. They're not allowed to talk. So the only thing they can do is look and listen, and they watch everything. So they're going to, even when you think they're not looking at you, they're looking at you. So I always tell my clients, behave yourselves accordingly. And apparently today, the judge has to get on Trump. A juror had said something about, I don't know, they were glad about the election results. They were glad that Biden won. And Trump mumbled something under his breath, and the judge heard him. And he was like, no, you can't do that. We're not going to have that. You can't intimidate any jurors. And that's okay. Trump, if they voted for Biden, or, they wanted his supporter, then that's them. Your lawyers are there for a reason. Your lawyers will kick them out. But the last thing you want to do is say something disrespectful to one of them, because even though they may get kicked off, you got a room of 100 to 200 people sitting behind you that saw you be disrespectful. So now they're going to have a bad vibe and a bad taste in their mouth about you. So you're going to go in the trial losing. And then sometimes you have jurors that try to get on your jury. That's what I call stealth jurors. They people that act like they don't want to be on the jury, but they really do. And this happened with Trump today. It was this one lady. They said, did y'all know that Trump was indicted like in 4 different counties? He got 4 cases pending. Do y'all know that he was criminally charged, or did y'all learn about it today? One woman act like she didn't know nothing about it. I didn't know he was charged. I didn't know he had these other cases out there. I just found out about it today. Bye. Get out. Because I don't know if you either slow or you playing slow to try to get on the jury, and neither one of them gonna work in a case like this. So it seems as if she was trying, in my opinion, she was trying to act like she didn't know nothing about it. She neutral, and so she can get picked. And no. You want to get on the jury, and you might have a ulterior motive to do that. You might want to find them guilty. Act like I don't know nothing about it. Put me on the jury. Next thing you know, she guilty. She in her mind, oh yeah, he guilty. I'm gonna get him. Oh yeah, they put the wrong one on the jury, and she go home and talk to her husband. Oh yeah, we did it, babe. Whatever they call each other now. We did it, boo. I'm on the jury. He won't win this election. Nah, no. If you don't know, keep not knowing. if you don't know nothing about him, stay not knowing. Stay at the house. Watch it on TV, and then you'll find out more there. But let's see what the other jurors. I believe one of them was a lawyer. I don't know why. I'm still trying to figure out why the defense let a lawyer on the jury. that's strange to me, because when it's time to go into the deliberation room, that's when all the juries get together and it's time to vote whether they think someone's guilty or not guilty. That lawyer is going to have a whole lot of more power, per se, than the other jurors, because let's say some of the jurors don't understand some parts of the case, or they don't understand a certain argument. Guess who in the room they're going to look to? They're going to look to the lawyer that's on the jury. And if that lawyer is leaning a certain way, let's say, for example, he's leaning towards guilty, he can craft his arguments, as a authority figure in the room, as an attorney, that, hey, the legal elements of this case say this, this, and this, and Trump did this, this, and this. He's guilty based on the law, and I'm a lawyer. So I definitely wouldn't have let a lawyer nowhere near that jury. Now, I haven't, voted out of him. I haven't, questioned him, interviewed him. Maybe the lawyers for Trump team saw something in him. Maybe they research. Maybe they did a good job researching, and maybe they found some positive social media posts about Trump that this lawyer wrote, maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So they may say, okay, he's a good candidate. But based on me on the outside looking in, I just didn't think he was a good idea. Let me see real quick, and we're gonna get out of here. Golly, what time is it? Good thing I ain't got court tomorrow. Let me see. Okay, present, share screen. Okay, here we go. 7. Okay. So cameras is real tricky in New York. So supposedly they have strict laws about cameras in the courtroom. So they don't have cameras, they have sketch artists. And then they have some still photos. Some still photos, but New York, why y'all can't allow cameras in courtroom? If y'all ain't hiding, then it's supposed to be a public trial. We want to see. So I guess let me see. Let me go to the bottom and see the jurors, and then I can scroll back up. Let's see who they are. I think it was. Okay, here we go. What we know about the 7. 7 jurors have been seated in Donald Trump hush money criminal trial so far. Here's what we know about them. The first seated juror, who would be the foreperson. And the foreperson is basically the person that communicates back and forth with the court. So if they have a question when they deliberate, they'll write a letter to the judge. They'll tell the judge, hey, judge, we can't decide. What should we do? And then the judge will say, hey, go back and keep deliberating. And the foreperson is the one that signs the verdict form. So that person, they vote don't count more than anyone else's, but they just have just a little bit more of a ceremonial role. And it says the first one is a man from Ireland. He works in sales and has some college education. He is married but doesn't have kids. He reads the New York Times and the Daily Mail and watches some Fox News and MSNBC. See, that's a good one for the defense. Anybody that's watching Fox News, that's what Trump wanted to hear. Because that was his news station at a time. Fox couldn't do no wrong at one point in time. So he's a good one for the defense. The second one, she's a nurse who lives with her fiance. She's a native New Yorker. She reads the New York Times and watches CNN. Okay. Not so much, a positive for the defense. I mean, she watches CNN, and supposedly CNN is the rival of Fox. So I guess that's a win for the prosecutor. So I guess that's 1-1. The third is a corporate lawyer. That's the one I was talking about. He's originally from Oregon. He gets his news from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and Google. He's a younger man who's never been married and doesn't have kids. Okay. That's going to be interesting right there to see, what he's about. So I'll say he's kind of neutral right now. The fourth one, Puerto Rican man who's married with adult children and two grandkids. So this is the first one that got kids. When asked about his hobbies, he said, "I guess my hobby is my family." He's an IT. He has an IT business for training and consulting and attending one-year college. Now this is interesting. What? He told the court he finds Trump fascinating and mysterious. Really? So many people are set off one way or the other, and that is interesting. The man said, really, this one guy can do all of this. Wow. Trump makes things interesting. The man said, but also didn't indicate any strong feelings about his politics. Now that's interesting. They're saying he's fascinating and mysterious. Is this a win for the defense? What y'all think? He's saying that Trump is fascinating and mysterious. Wow. I'm surprised the prosecutors didn't strike him just to be safe. And from my understanding, so each side gets 10. And from my understanding, each side has already used 6. So Trump has 4. The prosecutor has 4 left. And I guess they didn't want to waste one with him because he's not saying that he's a Trump supporter. But fascinating, mysterious. I mean, imagine if someone came up to you and said that. That's almost like a compliment, right? If a man or a woman came to you and said, "Well, you fascinating, mysterious." Strike if I was the prosecutor. So that almost sound like that's one for, I'm going to say defense right there. The 5th juror is a young Black woman who teaches English language in a public charter school system. She has a master's degree in education. She's not married and don't have any kids. Another one with no kids. The juror said that as a person of color, she has friends who have strong opinions on Trump, but she personally is not a political person. She says she tries to avoid political conversation and doesn't really care for the news. The jurist did say she appreciates Trump's candor. Okay. President Trump speaks his mind, and I'd rather have that than someone who's in office and you don't know what they're thinking. She was also the only juror of 18 in the box Tuesday morning who said she wasn't aware that Trump is facing criminal charges in other criminal cases. So she was the one that I think I've seen earlier. She don't know nothing about nothing. Like, girl, where you been at? This has been on the news for a long time that he was indicted, multiple times. And then she says she has friends that have strong opinions about Trump. What are those opinions? That's, one of the questions I ask her. What are the opinions of your friends? And this is not like trial. It's not like hearsay or nothing like that. We're not in trial yet. We're just having a casual conversation. So I would ask her. But if she did give him a compliment, he's going to speak his mind and say what's on his mind, whether you like it or not. And that is better than, I think I made a video about that before. I'd rather have somebody I know who's my enemy than somebody who's lukewarm. I want to know where we stand at. That makes it easier for me to deal with you. So if she's saying Trump, she want to know what you think and what your policies are. The only thing that gives me pause with her, that gives me concern, is that last sentence, that she don't know. She don't know nothing about nothing, and that's a concern for me personally. She said she's not really political. I mean, well, you something. Now, unless she's just a really young girl, I mean, she don't have kids yet. Let's see. The 6th juror is a software engineer. You always gonna get an engineer at a large broadcast company who recently graduated from college. She voiced no strong feelings about Trump one way or the other, and said, "I will be fair and impartial." She got the buzzwords down. Not fair and impartial, girl. She is married and has no kids. New York, what's going on? What's in y'all water? I know y'all got what, millions and billions of people. I know somebody got some kids. She currently living with 3 roommates. Wow. Now that's interesting. The jury gets her news from New York Times, Google, Facebook, and TikTok. She asked the judge whether her sister's wedding on a Sunday in September would be a scheduling conflict. The judge said if we were still here in September, that would be a big problem. Were we in April, May, June, July, August, September? Yeah, we ain't gonna be there that long. I wasn't gonna say like the Young Thug trial. It's been over a year, but that's different. They got a lot of different witnesses, even though to me they ain't proved nothing yet neither. But this case, you ain't gonna have that many witnesses. You're gonna have his lying lawyer. They say we all lie. We lie lawyers. They don't have his lying lawyer. They're gonna have some of probably the women that were paid the money. They may even bring in the doorman. They're gonna bring in the movie executive. What is it? The movie executive, AMI, whatever they're called, the newspaper company that caught the stories, Catch and Kill. They're probably gonna bring in that CEO or whoever ran that company and bring these people in to testify against Trump. And then you might have Trump might get on the stand as a witness for himself. And he might have some other people, maybe his son, that's saying, "Hey, my dad never ran any other business. He just signed whatever we told him to sign." Or I was the witness. Trump's lawyer, my dad's lawyer, told him that everything we did was legal. We were guaranteed by our lawyer, and our lawyer said we can do this. So that's number 6. Number 7, the 7th juror is a civil litigator. Is this another attorney who is married with 2 kids and lives on the Upper East Side in Manhattan? Originally from North Carolina, he reads the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, New York Post, Washington Post. He said that he has political views as to Trump presidency, and that he thinks there were likely Trump administration policies he disagreed with. "I don't know the man, and I don't have any opinions about him personally," he said. "I certainly follow the news. I'm aware there are other lawsuits out there, but I'm not sure that I know anyone's character." That's interesting. That is interesting right there. So we might have 2 lawyers that's going to be on this case so far. So tomorrow, I'm assuming now that we're running out of challenges, I'm assuming that we're going to get the other 5. Well, I don't think it's going to be tomorrow because they don't have, I think I read there's no court on Wednesday. Let me go back. They said there's no court on Wednesday. So now they're doing a Young Thug judge. That man takes more breaks than any judge I know on this side of Texas. That man, trial ain't gonna never be over. Let me go up and see. Let's see if they're gonna have court tomorrow. Let's see. Are we at the top? I guess we're at the top. Oh, woman dismissed. Okay, I think she was dismissed. This lady right here, she went in the courtroom and I think she saw Trump and she was in shock, like in awe, like there's a celebrity. And I think she tried to pull out her phone and take a picture of the man. Woman, come on. We trying to pick a jury for a criminal case and you taking a picture of them. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. Is she a fan or she just trying to show her people like, hey, look where I'm at. But the bailiff yelled at her, loud, put that phone up, put it away. What are you doing? So obviously she was kicked out. I mean, I don't know what got her going. Send an 80-year-old man. I guess he must have did it for her. She was having them flashes, eye flash. I don't even know if eye flash is associated with with that. Don't listen to me. Okay. Oh, look at this woman cop. I wonder if she was the one that yelled. Put that phone up. Okay, they asked Trump what did he thought about the jurors, and Trump, he was asked, what kind of juror in your mind was an ideal juror? He said anybody that's fair. Trump was then asked, do you believe that the jurors seated today can be fair? He said, I'll let you know after the trial, depending on what happens. Oh, here you go, right here. The court is not in session Wednesday, and the jury selection will continue Thursday until a panel of 12 New Yorkers and likely 6 alternates have been selected. Wow. And you gotta have alternates, because if something was to happen, let's say you only have 12, which some judges do just 12 only, and one of them gets sick or have medical emergency or a family member they gotta take care of, now you have to start all over. Now, if you're having a trial, a 2-day, 3-day trial may not be a big deal, but when you're having a big trial, oh yeah, you're gonna need some alternates, because nobody want to start over. Trial is exhausting. I remember I had a trial over a week. It was like 7-8 days. That's like getting up early in the morning, going to sleep late at night because you got to get ready for the next day. So you're standing up all night long, the same thing over and over again. So that's a lot. So you really ain't got time to eat. You want to make sure your client's stressing, because they're facing life in prison. There's nothing like sitting next to a client that's facing life in prison, 20 years, 30 years. And I've done that multiple times. And so far, thank God that everybody went home. I haven't had one jury trial where somebody was sent to prison, but you can just tell the stress. It's like it's a whole lot of stress. But once you hear the words like not guilty, it's like a stress reliever, like big time. And then you go from being super worried for your client to one of the happiest people in the world at that moment, because now your client smiling ear to ear. Y'all literally walking out the courtroom together. You're literally walking out the courtroom with your client and their family, and then some of them have kids, like small kids. So your life is their life is literally in your hands. So when people hear about lawyers saving lives, then that's literally what some of us do. So it always brings me joy to do that, and to see the smiles on the faces. My last client, we walked out the courtroom. He introduced me to his baby. He just had the baby. He's like, this is the man that saved your daddy's life. Yeah, without him, and it was just a good feeling just to see him go home and drive off with his family. So trial could be rewarding, if you win. Now on the flip side, I can imagine some lawyers, they have to see some of their clients go off at trial, to prison. And then some might even worse. Texas is a death penalty state. I haven't did any capital murder cases, but I'm sure some lawyers have to see their clients be executed, just to be there to support them. They may go to the execution. So it's a lot being an attorney. It's not an easy job, but I'm sure Trump hired some of the best people to come in and help him win. So Trump, he actually got a gag order. What time is it? I'm going to get out of here. So he had a gag order, and they said, and Trump saying, hey, he don't want to be, he don't think he should be gagged. They don't want him. The prosecutors don't want him to talk about them or witnesses or nobody in the case. But Trump can't help it. he talked about, I think he talked about one of the girls and the prosecutor. He made a social media post before he went to court. So the DA, the prosecutors want Trump to be locked up for violating the gag order. But realistically, that's really not possible. How y'all gonna lock him up? What y'all want to do? Stay in the jail overnight? The Secret Service stay in the jail overnight? That's likely not going to happen. But what the judge can do, the judge can fine him. Like every time you violate this order, I'm gonna charge you $1,000. I'm gonna charge you $10,000. But yeah, that's a lot to go through. But yeah, we kind of went through the gist of it. So we're gonna see what happens on Thursday with the rest of these 5 people, and I may jump back on to cover those 5 people to see what the rest going to be. But so far, it's interesting. You have people from different countries on the jury. Most of the people don't have kids. We might have 2 lawyers on the jury. So this is going to be, an interesting case. And I'm sure the defense did more homework on the jurors than the prosecution. So I'm sure the defense team is really scanning social media like crazy. Prosecution might do a little bit, but they're not going to do as much because they don't have as much to lose as Trump. The prosecutors lose. They get to go home and say, oh, we tried. We'll try again on the next one. We'll get the next one. The defense, we lose. Our client goes to jail. So we have way more to lose. So we have to be way more thorough and way more accurate than the prosecutors. But that's pretty much it. I might come back on Thursday and Friday because I don't believe I have board. And even if I do, I'll just come on at nighttime. But before I go, let me give y'all this disclaimer. I might be a lawyer, but I'm not your lawyer. I'm just here to talk that law.